Hi, Tracy Johnson here with you guys. I wanted to take just a minute to welcome you to EDL 710 for spring 2019. This course is specifically designed to help you understand how to lead instruction as well as assessment. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about how you design a program that is going to be able to accomplish those goals. And today we're going to start off, I'm going to give you kind of an overview not only of the course, but our learnings and our processes. But I have also uploaded for you a PowerPoint called Schooling by Design. Now I will tell you, don't freak out, this is a very, very long PowerPoint. It's 38 pages and has more than 60 slides. We're not going to walk through all of them today. I'm just going to kind of give you the big overview picture, but we will be using this PowerPoint throughout the course and delving deeper into each section throughout our 7 weeks. So let's get started. So if you would open up the PowerPoint that I posted for you in this module called Schooling by Design. So this is based on the book Schooling by Design by Wiggins and McTighe. This is really one of my absolute favorite books and really serves, I think, as a handbook for how you create a viable and exceptionally strong curriculum, instruction, and assessment plan. So the CIA triangle, which we'll be talking more about later, this little triangle here where you have instruction on one point, you have curriculum on another point, and you have assessment here. There absolutely has to be alignment between those. So if you look at this particular PowerPoint, skip on down to slide number 3. This is the foundation that everything is built upon for an effective school program. It has to start with that foundation of mission. What is it that we are trying to accomplish as an organization? Then there are pieces that build upon that. And when you take care of all of those things, that's when you have a highly effective school. So it starts with mission, which we'll delve into a little bit today. Then it talks about learning principles, and we'll delve into that. What is a learning principle? What does it mean? How do we use it? Then we have to talk about the curriculum and assessment system, as well as the instructional program and practices. Of course, we can't do it without people, so we also have to think about our personnel, our hiring, appraisal, and development processes, as well as our governance. So what is the model that we're using, and how are we allocating our human capital resources as well as our physical capital resources? And then, of course, we want to make sure we have structure in place as well as policies that guide the way we do our work. When we find a school that has all of those pieces, we will usually find a highly effective school with strong student achievement, high morale, and positive culture and climate. So moving on to the slide number 4. The key to lasting change involves intrinsic incentives. Now, we are masters in education of the extrinsic incentive. So for example, oh, you got an A on your report card, so we're going to give you a certificate and honor you at, a little ceremony. Or, yay, teachers, everybody got their grades in on time, so we're going to put a cookie in everybody's boxes. Well, those are important, and I'm not diminishing the value of them. If we want to have real lasting change in our schools, it is absolutely essential that we build in intrinsic motivations. Now, how do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to have a powerful vision. And if you've taken EDL 700 with me, the professional learnings community, we talk a lot about what that vision should be. And that is going to lead to our mission. So the two have to be intertwined. So is our vision and our mission worthy? Is it rich? Is it valuable to us? Does it really give us specific images of what it is we're trying to do? If your vision and or your mission does not do that, then you need to spend some time there. It also has to include timely and useful information about how we're doing against our goals. So there has to be the model of constant improvement, continually improving, and giving feedback. And we have to be real and honest. Educators are often guilty of the culture of niceness, where they don't want to tell people things they don't want to hear, so they will gloss it over or they'll avoid the subject. In order to have an effective system and an effective school, we have to always address the problems. There is going to be times, no matter how great a job we're doing, that there is a gap between our vision and mission and what's actually happening in our school. So I want you to frame that and think about that as we begin to move into the course, EDL 710. Really, really important to address gaps, to tell the truth, to be honest, and to work on solving our most challenging and difficult problems. Not only do we have to have a strong vision and mission for our school, we also have to have a strong mission and vision for each one of our programs, whether it's math, English language arts, or it's third grade or whatever. Without a mission that is very specific to individual departments, contents, and or programs, it's very difficult for us to ensure that there is alignment. We also have to make sure our short-term planning, whether it's lesson planning or unit planning, is aligned with those goals. So again, if you think broadly, so here we have the vision and mission of the school, then that's narrowed down to here's the mission and vision of our content. Take that even further, here's our mission and vision by grade level or by specific course. And then that gets down to the vision and mission for success for our students. All of those have to be interwoven and work together to be effective. We also have to confront what our reality is today. So we have to be very laser focused on where we are and tell the truth. Again, no more glossing over. And then from that current reality, that needs assessment, we can move into the vision and mission making. We always have to plan to adjust. So, an effective school looks constantly where they are, and they have certain benchmarks in their timeline and timetables of implementation to make sure that everything is working. And where it's not, then they're able to jump in and fix that. We all know that we do that with the RTI model with our students. We start big with good first instruction for all of our students. Then in that model, we may have some students that need, in addition to that tier 1 good first instruction, we may have some who fall into tier 2, who need some more intensive work and really need maybe some remediation. So that may look like tutoring in the classroom, Saturday school, etc. But then when we get to tier 3, those are our students with the most need, and they may need something even more intense, like alternative instruction or some really strong accommodations, etc. So we're always monitoring and adjusting where our students fall. It's the same idea for our school. We might get everything right in tier 1, but there's going to be some areas where we really have to focus to be able to pinpoint those things. I'm not a coach. I'm not a sports athletic kind of person, but I have watched some really effective coaches in my career. So for example, I'm thinking about a really effective football coach who was a master in the classroom. He taught physics, but was also a master on the field. And he would teach a skill, and he did this in both places. He would teach a skill to the group of to his entire students and the concepts. Then he would drill down and provide additional support and instruction where needed, whether it was on how to appropriately snap the ball, or whether it was for the quarterback, how to drop back in the pocket and make an effective pass. He did the same thing in his physics class. We have to use that same mindset when we look at our schools and our programs. So moving on to slide number 7, we also have to be really aware of the change cycle. If we don't address it and share that with everyone, then again, it can just cause some roadblocks that are unnecessary. So the first thing we have to do is to really highlight what it is that we're hoping to accomplish. One of my favorite activities is to just do a laundry list of maybe what a graduate, if you're in high school, looks like. What do we want them to know and to be able to do? So that should include not only content-specific things, but it should also include those sort of soft skills. Do we want them to be able to communicate effectively, orally and in writing, etc.? You also can break that down even further and use the same process by content. So by the time a student finishes Algebra 1, here is what they should know and be able to do. You can use the same premise by grade level. So by the end of 3rd grade, here's what we want our 3rd graders to know and be able to do. That provides that big picture that can help people to hone in on what is most important. Then we have to also decide how are we going to credibly assess each one of those indicators. And it doesn't have to just be paper and pencil tests. There can be many ways. It can be a portfolio, it can be a performance, but we have to make sure that we're actually measuring what it is we hope our students master. Then we have to look at where there's a gap. So is there a gap between maybe our economic groups or our racial groups? Or is there a gap between teachers that, the students in Teacher A's Algebra 1 class are hitting the mark, but the students in Teacher B's class are not. So we've got to, again, drill down and figure out why that's going on. Once we know the why, then we have to also create an action to be able to remediate or fix the problem. And that can be done through an action plan, it can be through some coaching, it can be a number of different ways. Once we do that, then we have to again analyze our results and act on what we see so that it becomes that change cycle for us. One of my all-time favorite books is From Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he talks about that we have to find a way to really address the brutal facts. Failure to do that really can lead to results we don't want, as well as a lack of student success. So I've given you a couple quotes here you may just want to look at and read. So what are the brutal facts maybe for a school? One of the things that I've noticed over the course of my career is that not very many teachers actually construct an assessment that is aligned with the state standards, the school mission, or the program mission. It's not that they don't want to or they don't try, but many of them just don't know how. So we're going to talk about how you do that throughout the course. Teachers also rely on the textbook. It's not just a resource, but in many ways, many classrooms, it is what they teach. And while in an ideal world, the textbook would be completely aligned with a school's mission and vision, as well as what they're trying to accomplish with the students, that is not always going to be the case. Also, too, teachers lecture too much, as I'm doing to you today, but that's particularly critical that we don't always spend our time in lecture in our K-12 or pre-K-12 classrooms. Also, teachers are somewhat afraid of feedback, particularly from their peers. They get feedback maybe from their administrative or campus leadership teams, but the best, most valuable feedback comes from peers, because who knows, let's say, the Algebra 1 curriculum better than someone else who's also teaching the Algebra 1 curriculum. And that dual two-way feedback between colleagues is really invaluable. Also, too, grading. Grading is just really probably the most ineffective, inconsistent way to assess performance. What does an A really mean? Does it mean that you complied and turned in all of your assignments and your homework? Or does it mean that you actually mastered the content? And I'll give you a great example. One of my truly brightest students that I've ever dealt with as a principal was a National Merit finalist, scholar, aced the ACT, got a near perfect score on the SAT, etc. He was incredibly bright, but he did terrible in his classes because he refused to do homework and classwork. Now, when the teacher gave the assessment, he would get a perfect score. So when he got that failing grade, was it really a measure of whether or not he understood and mastered the content? Because based on the assessments, he did. But he was a non-compliant student. When it came to jumping through certain hoops, the teacher had decided was important. Now, I'm not minimizing the need for classwork and homework and compliance. That is a part of what we have to teach our students. But at the same time, when that student got a failing grade, I think we have to be intentional about what those grades mean and make sure that there is a differentiation between compliance and actual mastery. So, when we think about helping and moving students forward, there are things that we have no control over. For example, we don't have control over what's on the state assessment. That's a given. But we can influence maybe how those things are taught, included in the curriculum, and even at the state level provide some feedback to our test makers about what works and what doesn't. But there are things that we absolutely control. So what happens within our schools and within a specific classroom is completely in our control. So that's where we have to spend our time and our work. So that's where we're going to stop for today, talking about those sort of foundational principles. And then in our next lecture, we're going to start with slide number 11, where we talk more specifically about vision and mission. So again, excited to have you. Thanks.